Alright, so in this video, we're going to be talking about the fact that the majority of animals on this planet are non-monogamous, even though you walk around saying, oh yeah, monogamy, blah, blah. That's actually not the case when you look at the behavior of animals, and literal studies will, back up what I'm saying. A study found that 3 to 5% of mammals on the planet are monogamous. Now, I want to ask you a question. If aliens above were looking at humans, and they just looked at the behavior of humans, they didn't say, they didn't understand the language of humans. They just had to look at our behavior and was going to make an assessment on if humans fit under that 3 to 5% of animals that are monogamous. Do you think they would say that we are? If they looked at our hookup culture, if they looked at our going to that person, to that person, to that person, and then a lot of the time marriage is ended by infidelity and all of that, do you think they would look at our behavior and say, yeah, that's a monogamous species? Well, you already know the answer to that, because we all know the answer to this deep down. Of course they wouldn't say that. 3 to 5% of animals are socially monogamous, which is interesting. It's not even the case that these animals are totally monogamous. They're socially monogamous. And I am saying that if anything, that's what we are, socially monogamous, but our behavior definitely is not. Now, socially monogamous means this. There's an appearance to the outer community or group that's my main. But actually, when you look at the behavior behind the scenes, these animals are still willing to engage in extramarital activities. So it's the same thing when it comes to penguins. When you look at penguins, right? There was a study done, and I believe it was either 8 or 16, one of those numbers. But I think it was 8 pairs, and about 2 to 4, which is 25 to 50% of the couples, the females in those couples engaged in extramarital activities or infidelity, basically, against their partner with who they deemed as the higher value male in out of those pairs. So even in the example that we're using for monogamy, even the penguin, engages in non-monogamy, right? And who wants to be a penguin anyway? And I'm telling you that just like with penguins or any of the animals, or the majority of animals on planet Earth, the majority of mammals, that is, and we are mammals, the male that is deemed to have high value in the group attracts willing females. It's not that they just are exercising it by themselves. They attract willing female partners, and that's the case that I'm making in this video. We fall under that category. When you look at our behavior, it is moderately polygynous. Now, what does that mean? Polygyny is a brand or branch of polygamy. So polygamy is when a person has multiple partners, and they're just with them. So it's a man with multiple female partners, or a woman with multiple male partners, and there are 2 types. So the first one, in which a male is with multiple female partners, that's called polygyny. Polyandry is when the woman has multiple male partners, so that's polyandry. And I'm telling you, and I'm informing you, and you already know this deep down anyway, that our species is from socially monogamous to moderately polygynous. And you can look this up anywhere. Go buy evolutionary psychology, evolutionary sexuality books, and do your own research, because I've done my research and I know. But humans have a hard time accepting this. This is why I even have to tell you to go do your own research, and you might not even want to, because you have this, and this is called the mind. The mind can be indoctrinated. The mind is a program, and it's susceptible to programmers. So who are the programmers? Mass media, social preachers, religious institutions, and so on. They're able to program your mind so that you think in a certain way, and then once you think in that certain way, you will even fight to stay thinking in the way that you've been programmed because you deem it emotionally comfortable for you. And I'm saying, look, let's forget all of that stuff. Let's be mature and have the uncomfortable conversation so we can get to truth. And in truth, we can find out how it benefits us all, which is what I'm gonna go into in this video. But again, your mind, which can be indoctrinated by social concepts, is out of alignment with your body and biology, which is designed by God. And the DNA of your body and the genes do not register that you're living in this socially created environment. It doesn't know you're living in the concrete jungle. It doesn't know you're living in cushy society where there's office jobs and 9-to-5s and all of that. It registers or believes that it's under the conditions that are closer aligned to nature. It believes it's living the jungle life, actually. It doesn't know we're living in the concrete jungle. Your genes are just believes that it's living in the jungle, and under that circumstance, its number one priority is survival, right? So the polygynous structure actually benefits males and females in terms of the goal being survival, and we're going to go into that. Animals don't have this issue of the mind. They just live in nature and they're like, oh yeah, of course. And they're closely aligned to nature, obviously. So there's no benefit to them thinking with social concepts anyway, or socially indoctrinated concepts. So they just simply register the value of this, relation style, or, I can't say it's a dating style, but that sort of sexual behavior. They just register the value in it with no, oh, I'm not doing that, or oh, that's wrong. They don't register it like that. They're just like, oh, of course, this is what makes sense. And I promise you, you already know this deep down. I'm just forcing it into your head. I'm forcing you to accept the truth. I promise you, you already know this deep down. So when it comes to animals, they actually have meetups. They have tournaments. It's almost like sports tournaments. And in these tournaments, the males will meet up, right? It's just like the females being the spectators, and the males meet up and they literally engage in fighting tournaments. Even the cutest, sweetest animals that you look at on the outside, they do this, right? So it's called Lex, L-E-K-S, look it up. And let's say goats meet up and they do that thing where they headbutt each other. Right? There's literal rules and organization to this. And the winner of the tournament gets the females. Does that sound familiar to you? Does that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound like your NBA, like your NFL, like your Premier League? Does it not sound like your golf? Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods didn't have no problem. He was just a guy with options that went too crazy with it and didn't have discipline because he didn't have this knowledge, actually. If he had this information, he would be able to discipline himself. But we're going to go into that. So does this not remind you of your Cristiano Ronaldo, of your Odell Beckham, and so on? The winner of these tournaments gets access to willing females. And that's the point of this video. A lot of the time we say, men are polygamous by nature. No, humans are polygynous, meaning women are polygynous. Women are polygynous. And what I mean by that is polygyny is obviously the woman being with that man. So girls might say, well, I don't believe in that. I believe I want to be monogamous. Well, that's the point. I'm saying that, like, polygyny is the woman being monogamous and the man is just not being monogamous. That's it. You are still being monogamous. There's no change to that. Of course you want to be monogamous. That proves my point that we are a polygynous species, because although you want to be monogamous, does the man you want to be monogamous with, does he want to be monogamous? But again, we already all know this stuff. The winner gets the females. Why? Because that male is deemed as the one who is most likely to ensure the survival of the females, which is why when it comes to polygyny and plural marriage, people say, well, I don't have a problem with it. Many girls will say, I don't have a problem with it as long as he can take care of the females, as long as he can afford them. You're literally saying the exact same thing, but you're just rebranding it, right? That male is deemed, like animals, to be the one ensuring better chances of survival for that female. That's it. You're just rebranding the same thing, right? So you think, oh, I'm not an animal, Reemus, but you're saying we're basically animals and we live in the wild. Yeah, you do. You do. Your behavior is showing that you do, because even though there's a lot of strong and independent women, why do they look for a provider and protector and a leader? Why do they do that? They don't need it. But their genes are still registering, hey, we want a man who can ensure and heighten our chances of survival and our experience here in this life. And that's the same thing animals experience. But you just think you're not an animal. There's a fly. But you are an animal. Now, when we look at mammals, like lions, when we look at bulls, when we look at even horses, right, we see that they are exercising this polygynous strategy, right? The high value male gets the highest level of access. They did a study. You can read about this in the book by Richard Dawkins. It's called The Selfish Gene. It's in chapter 10. And the elephant seals, in the elephant seal community in this particular study, 88% of the females were getting with 4% of the males. And you think you're different to that. You listen to that and go, well, that's elephant seals. Until you put a dating app in a woman's hand and say, show me who you're interested in. And 95% of the guys get swiped on the wrong side, which is they get rejected. And 5% are getting accepted. And that 5% obviously is the one that they deem a high value option, which means by default, he would also be deemed as a viable option for the other females doing the same thing. So with the hypergamous nature combining with the polygamous nature of a man combines the hypergamous nature of a female combined with the polygamous nature of a man leads to polygynous behavior. And you can literally look this up, type in dating app statistics, and you will see women tend to swipe left, which is reject 95% of the males. So you're not that different to the elephant seals, even though you think you are. But let's look at an example, right? Lions. Let's say we have a lioness, so a female lion, and she has a choice of two males. She can get with the wild one, or she can get with a captive one. The captive one has been growing up in a zoo. He's not really that good at hunting. He might have to scavenge a bit. He's not battle hardened, hasn't been in many fights, so he doesn't know how to defend territory and so on. And then she has the choice of the wild one, and the wild one is battle hardened. He has battle scars. He's had experience dominating territories. He's had experience with many other females. He's probably sired many children. But he is the one who is basically tough. Who do you think she's going to choose? If we're going to say, hey, you're going to live in the wild, which one do you think she would choose? Well, you already know she would choose the one that is battle hardened. She's going to choose the wild one. Now, you think you're different to this. Again, you're not different to this. That is the exact same choice that a woman has when she has the choice between a bad boy and a nice guy. It literally is the same. You have one who is the tame, nice, comfortable one. And then you have the other, which is the battle-hardened one with more masculine energy and all of that stuff. And the reason why women choose bad boys is because her DNA is registering that under natural conditions, the bad boy would be the one she's more likely to survive with. So you're not that different. You're really not. You think you are, but you're not. Now let's continue this. Let's say she has a choice to be with the wild lion. This lioness can choose between a wild lion and he has 4 other females. Or she can choose the captive one and she'll just be with him. And she'll have him all to herself, right? Who do you think she's going to choose? She's still going to choose the wild one. Do you know why? Because her chances of survival are still higher with that one, as opposed to if she chose the captive or the one that was captive before. Her chances of survival are still higher. It really doesn't matter. Right? So it's no different to girls picking those bad boys who are more likely to cheat and all of that stuff. And I'm not advocating for that, but we're going to go into that after, right? I'm just showing you that this is the behavior of animals and humans. So there would still be an opportunity of higher survival in the wild one. So that's why she'll pick him. Now, the existence of other female presence with the wild one would actually be still good for her, because she'd be able to use that as a measure of the fact that he is high value. So when women are looking for, you know, a man, they're looking at many traits, and the existence of other females validates to her that, okay, he must be able to take care of many women, and that's take care of a woman. That's the reason why when you get into a relationship as a man, we all know the experience of other girls being more into you, and you're like, well, where was she before? Is if the girl is pretty and if the girl looks happy with you, the other women will go, well, if I was with him, he'd probably make me feel the same way. And because she's pretty, well, her beauty is matching the perceived value of that man. So if that pretty girl's with him and she's happy, well, if I was with him, I'd be just as happy. And there's many guys that can't make her happy or can't make her fulfilled. So the existence of other females will always be attractive to women, because they use it as a measure to understand the value and the potential and capabilities of that male. Now, let's change up this scenario a little bit more. And let's say that the female lion had a choice between the wild one, right? And she could choose the wild one, the same wild one, by himself, or the wild one with other females. She'd still choose the other. She'd still choose to be with the wild one whilst he has other females. Do you know why? Because with other females, her chance of surviving is still higher, because you know what lions do? They hunt together. So the male dominates and conquers that territory, providing and protecting for whoever is a part of that territory. And the females will, you know, they're free to hunt. They're free to be the flow, just like in human society, right? So the lionesses collaborate and exercise teamwork, right? So her chances of surviving with other females who are willing to do teamwork and hunt with her are still higher than if she had the male and the wild one to herself. So she's still gonna pick that. Now, I'm letting you know that that's the potential of what a polygynous relationship structure offers. I'm letting you know that that's the potential for what humans can do if they redirect this sexuality that's going to happen anyway, and they get the benefits of teamwork and collaboration. So the polygynous relationship structure, it offers energies that can come together and can combine wealth, knowledge, resources, information, energetic support, emotional support, assistance in so many different ways. And that's the reason why when you talk to polygynous people that are in that lifestyle or of that mindset, they will always talk about nation building, wealth generation. They're talking about collaboration rather than competition. They're talking about investing, multiple incomes all coming together, building legacy. That's the reason why that's their mindset. They're thinking of the emotional and energetic and verbal support in so many different ways. But people think of this and they think of the sexual side of it, and that makes sense because, you know, it's a practice of sexuality. But the practice of sexuality is really supposed to be redirected so that these other benefits are possible, these other benefits are gained. And I'm letting you know that's the potential for what can happen in the polygynous relationship structure. Now, it's interesting. You might think I'm crazy, and I get that. But I think you're crazy because you're going to do it anyway. So when you look at the behavior of humans and you look at the behavior of girls, you're going to see this anyway. Hookup culture only enables this to be done on a magnified scale. But it's going to be done with no benefit to the man, not long term anyway, but it really is beneficial for his dick, and that's it. And it's going to be done to no benefit of the many girls who are just getting dicked down, and that's it. And I'm saying, no, we can actually redirect that so it's going to be of benefit to the women, right? Sounds crazy, but I think you're crazy for thinking hookup culture is liberating. I think you're crazy for the fact that many people are going to do this. I think that do this anyway and stay in it. I think that you're crazy for the fact that many men are going to cheat and lie, and the woman's going to find out and she's still going to stay in it. I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy. And there's going to be no benefit to that other woman. That's what we say, the other woman. Remember, there's no such thing called the other man. There's no such thing as female athletes becoming wildly successful and then getting many men. But there is such thing as male athletes becoming wildly successful and then getting many women. And then there's an understanding, we all know, that the wags, the footballers' wives, the athletes' wives, all understand that that guy is still going to be with many women, but she's just going to look the other way. And I'm saying that's crazy. I'm saying the fact that you're going to do it, but you're only going to live in a lie and a deception, I think that's crazy. So what I'm saying is that the potential for us to redirect this sexuality so it's of benefit to families, communities, children, and the women who are participating who are polygynous, I think that makes more sense than a hookup culture that claims that doing this under the table is liberating and makes sense as long as it's not official, as long as the people are not in a relationship, as long as the people are not taking care of each other, not committed to each other, as long as they just reduce it to their sexual parts, then acting in a polygynous style is okay. But when you officially do it, when we add marriage to it, when we add commitment to it, when we add the perspective of building, when we add the possibility of legacy, that's when it's weird. No, actually, no, that's when it's empowered. That's true empowerment. Because again, you think it's crazy that people would propose this, but you're only thinking it's crazy because you're told to. You're only thinking it's crazy because you're told otherwise. You're told to think it's bad or whatever, right? You're told that. But if you wasn't told that and we was just gonna watch human behavior happen, it would just happen and you would have no problem with it. And we know this because for thousands of years, that was the case. But anyway, yeah, my main point was we can redirect this part of our sexuality that happens anyways for the benefit and purpose of people all involved. But perhaps I'm crazy. Perhaps you're right and I'm crazy. But I want to know what you think. So comment down below. Let Reemus know if you have a opposing, perspective. I invite that. But just make it sound logical. Peace.